The Germans a considerable prize in their efficient and comprehensive arms industry. Of particular interest to the officers of the Panzer Arm were the companies of CKD Praga and Skoda, which were responsible for Czech domestic tank production and exports. There can be little doubt that absorption of the 469 Czech army tanks into the Wehrmacht and the continued production of two of them made a very significant contribution to the German ability to wage war in the first 2 years of the coming conflict. Indeed, the product of CKD was to remain in production in one form or another until war's end in 1945. The German army adopted the LT-VZ-38 as the Panzer 38T. The LT-35 had been the main tank of the Czech army. The Germans took it over and incorporated it into the German army as the Panzer 35T. The largest military parade in pre-war Germany was held on April the 20th, 1939, to celebrate Adolf Hitler's birthday. He and the leading figures in the Wehrmacht were present to take the salute in a march and drive past that lasted over 2 hours. An extensive number of Panzer IIs of different marks either passed in procession or were mounted on flatbeds. Of particular note is the Panzer IID, which was rarely captured on film, seen carried on the back of a Fawn 6x4 tank transporter. Barely 7 months after this footage was taken, most, if not all of the vehicles and other equipment were fighting in Poland. At 4:45 a.m. on the morning of Friday, September the 1st, 1939, German ground forces crossed the border into Poland. At the cutting edge of the German forces were some 3,195 panzers. Although the rapid collapse of the Polish army led many to see in this campaign the first use of the new armoured warfare, in reality the Poles were undone by a classic exercise of double envelopment, in which the panzers played a major, though not decisive, role. On paper, the Polish army appeared formidable, being able to mobilize up to 3 million men. In all, she could deploy 38 infantry divisions, 1 motorized brigade, 11 cavalry brigades, 745 mainly obsolescent aircraft, and 1,134 small and light armored vehicles. It was the speed with which such forces were overcome that stunned the world. The invading panzers were distributed among 6 panzer divisions and 4 light divisions, the new medium Mark IIIs and IVs constituting a very small percentage of the armoured force committed to the campaign, 2,886 of all the panzers being light tanks, but many of these, being Panzer Is and IIs, were already obsolescent. Many succumbed to the Polish 45mm Bofors anti-tank gun, Polish gunners being helped by the bright white German crosses obligingly painted onto the hulls of the panzers. These were later blacked out to deny them an aiming point. However, it became all too obvious during the course of the Polish campaign that notwithstanding the rapid advances made by some units, such as Guderian's 19th Panzer Corps, the light tanks were suffering losses. Guderian admitted that the German army never expected to go to war with the Panzer I. It was a training machine. In reality, Hitler's war had come at least 3 to 4 years too early for the German army. 112 Panzer 35Ts were committed with the 1st Light Division, and they performed well. their armour and guns proving effective in the conditions encountered in the campaign. Hitler made a number of visits to the battlefields to give moral support to his soldiers, as well as to see at first hand the impact of his army and air force on the Polish forces. He took a particular interest in the performance of the panzers. In this sequence, German armour is filmed entering Krakow, and shortly thereafter the crews take a rest. The city square is full of Panzer Is, IIs and 38Ts, as well as the SDKFZ 231 six-wheeled armoured cars. The opportunity is taken to clean the guns, take on fuel and rearm the machines prior to moving off on their next task. A short period of relaxation allowed the tank crews time to wash and rest. Operations in Poland in the late summer resulted in high temperatures inside the tank. Dust from the sandy Polish roads also enveloped the crews and covered the panzers. The resumption of the advance by the panzers brought the German forces to within striking distance of Warsaw within days of the opening of the campaign. Although Panzer Is and IIs provided the bulk of the armour in the campaigns, the availability of the Panzer 38T provided the Germans with a tank with the armament of the Panzer III on a hull half its weight. 59 served in Poland with the 3rd Light Division. The greatest losses incurred by the panzers in the whole campaign occurred following the beginning of the siege of Warsaw. Although surrounded, the Polish defenders refused to surrender, even though the city was being pounded by artillery. The decision was taken to employ the panzers to fight their way into Warsaw. 4th Panzer Division committed 120 tanks, losing 60 in a single day. The Germans had discovered that street fighting was not an activity tanks should be involved in. By the time the Poles surrendered on the 28th of September, the Panzerwaffe had incurred the following admitted losses among their light tanks: 89 Panzer Is, 78 Panzer IIs and 6 Panzer 35Ts, although other figures put them higher. What is clear is that the Panzer Is and IIs were found to be severely wanting as combat machines. Even before the end of the Polish campaign, Hitler had instructed OKH to prepare a plan for the invasion of the West, to begin as early as autumn 1939. Although the operation was repeatedly cancelled, German units were exercised frequently, even during the course of the severe winter of 39-40, in preparation for the offensive whenever it was to come. Amid this snow-covered landscape in eastern Germany, Panzer Is and IIs offer practice to infantry and anti-tank troops using the 37mm Pak 35-36 by acting as enemy armour. The original film also includes a variety of other armour types, including Panzer IIIs and IVs. For some crews in Panzer IIs, this experience with snow would come in very useful, as in April, Hitler decided to forestall an Allied attempt to occupy Norway by doing so himself. Due to the closeness of the date of his intended invasion of the West, Hitler could spare very few panzers for Operation Weserübung, the German occupation of Denmark and Norway in April 1940. In the absence of the precious Panzer IIIs and IVs, 3 Panzer Neubau-Fahrzeuge were fitted out to lead a limited contingent of light panzers as Panzer Battalion 40. 15 Panzer 38Ts were also